Sadat's reminder. Those who invented the law of supply and demand have no right to complain when this law works against their interest. Sagan fallacy. To say a human being is nothing but molecules and atoms is like saying a Shakespearean play is nothing but words and letters. Salary axiom. The pay raise is just large enough to increase your taxes and just small enough to have no effect on your take-home pay. Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. The structure and scope of the language that people use influences people's worldview and cognition. Sartre's observation, hell is others. Satinger's law, it works better if you plug it in. Sadler's law. There are 32 points to the compass, meaning that there are 32 directions in which a spoon can squirt grapefruit. Yet, the juice almost invariably flies straight into the human eye. Saunders's discovery. Laziness is the mother of 9 inventions out of 10. Sausage principle. People who love sausage and respect the law should never watch either one being made. Sayre's third law of politics. Academic politics is the most vicious and bitter form of politics because the stakes are so low. Schenk's first principle of industrial market economics. Good salesmen and good repairmen will never go hungry. Schmidt's law. If you mess with a thing long enough, it'll break. Schmidt's law. Never eat prunes when you're hungry. Schmidt's law. Probably a different Schmidt. If you mess with something long enough, it'll break. Schnatterly's summing up of the corollaries. If anything can't go wrong, it will. Schopenhauer's law of entropy. If you put a spoonful of wine in a barrel full of sewage, you get sewage. If you put a spoonful of sewage in a barrel full of wine, you get sewage. Shrimpton's law of teenage opportunity. When opportunity knocks, you've got headphones on. Schuckett's law. All interference in human conduct has the potential for causing harm, no matter how innocuous the procedure may be. Schultz's law. If you can't measure output, then you measure input. Schumpeter's observation of scientific and non-scientific theories. Any theory can be made to fit any facts by means of appropriate additional assumptions. Scott's first law. No matter what goes wrong, it will probably look right. Scott's second law. When an error has been detected and corrected, it will be found to have been correct in the first place. Corollary. After the correction has been found in error, it will be impossible to fit the original quantity back into the equation. Screwdriver syndrome. Sometimes, where a complex problem can be illuminated by many tools, one can be forgiven for applying the one he knows best. C's law. Nothing ever comes out as planned. Second law for freelance artists. All rush jobs are due the same day. Second law of applied confusion. Truck deliveries that normally take 1 day will take 5 when you are waiting for the truck. Second law of applied terror. The more studying you did for the exam, the less sure you are as to which answer they want. Second law of business meetings. If there are 2 possible ways to spell a person's name, you will pick the wrong spelling. Second law of class scheduling. A prerequisite for a desired course will be offered only during the following semester. Second law of committodynamics. The less you enjoy serving on committees, the more likely you are to be pressed to do so. Second law of computer programming. The value of a program is proportional to the weight of its output. Second law of final exams. In your toughest final, for the first time all year, the most distractingly attractive student in the class will sit next to you. Second law of gardening. Fancy gizmos don't work. Second law of holes. If a boss digs himself into a hole, all subordinates are expected to jump in with him. Second law of kitchen confusion. Once a dish is fouled up, anything added to save it only makes it worse. Second law of office morphology. Office machines that function perfectly during normal business hours will break down when you return at night to use them for personal business. Second law of photography. The best shots are generally attempted through the lens cap. Second principle. For patience. The more boring and out of date the magazines in the waiting room, the longer you will have to wait for your scheduled appointment. Second rule of environmental protection. The most efficient way to dispose of toxic waste is to reclassify the waste as non-toxic. Second workshop principle. Most projects require 3 hands. Seeger's Law. Anything in parentheses can be ignored. Siegel's Law. A man with 1 watch knows what time it is. A man with 2 watches is never sure. Seitz's Law of Higher Education. The one course you must take to graduate will not be offered during your last semester. Selz's Law. The first sample is always the best. Severide's Law. The chief cause of problems is solutions. Schaffer's Law. The effectiveness of a politician varies in inverse proportion to his commitment to principle. Shakespeare's Law. Where love is great, the littlest doubts cause fear. Shalit's Law. The intensity of movie publicity is in inverse ratio to the quality of the movie. Shanahan's Law. The length of a meeting rises with the square of the number of people present. Shapiro's explanation. The grass is always greener on the other side, but that's because they use more manure. Shapiro's Law of Reward. The one who does the least work will get the most credit. Sharkey's 4th Law of Motion. Passengers on elevators constantly rearrange their positions as people get on and off, so there is at all times an equal distance between all bodies. Shavelson's extension, having done its damage. Shaw's principle. Build a system that even a fool can use, and only a fool will want to use it. Schiedenhelm's Law of Backpacking. All trails have more uphill sections than they have level or downhill sections. Shirky principle. Institutions will try to preserve the problem to which they are the solution. Shirley's Law. Most people deserve each other. Siddhartha principle. You cannot cross a river in 2 strides. Silverman's paradox. If Murphy's Law can go wrong, it will. Silver's Law of Doctoring. It never heals correctly. Simon's Law. Everything put together falls apart sooner or later. Simon's Law of Destiny. Glory may be fleeting, but obscurity is forever. Sinner's Law of Retaliation. Do whatever your enemies don't want you to do. Syntetos's first law of consumerism. A 60-day warranty guarantees that the product will self-destruct on the 61st day. Sir Walter's Law. The tendency of smoke from a cigarette, barbecue, campfire, etc., to drift into a person's face varies directly with that person's sensitivity to smoke. 6th Law of Applied Terror. At the end of the semester, you will recall having enrolled in a course at the beginning of the semester and never attending. 6th Law of Office Morphology. The last person who quit or was fired will be held responsible for everything that goes wrong until the next person quits or is fired. Skinner's constant, Flanagan's finagling factor. That quantity which, when multiplied by, divided into, added to, or subtracted from the answer you got, gives you the answer you should have gotten. Scoff's Law. A child will not spill on a dirty floor. Skoll's Rule. For antique dealers, never simply say, sorry, we don't have what you're looking for. Always say, too bad, I just sold one the other day. Smith's Law. No real problem has a solution. Snafu equations. Given any problem containing n equations, there will be n plus 1 unknown. An object or bit of information most needed will be least available. Any device requiring service or adjustment will be least accessible. Interchangeable devices won't. In any human endeavor, once you have exhausted all possibilities and fail, there will be one solution, simple and obvious, highly visible to everyone else. Badness comes in waves. Snyder's Law. Nothing can be done in one trip. Sociology's iron law of oligarchy. In every organized activity, a small number of participants will become the oligarchical leaders, and the others will follow. Sod's first law. When a person attempts a task, he or she will be thwarted in that task by the unconscious intervention of some other presence, animate or inanimate. Nevertheless, some tasks are completed, since the intervening presence is itself attempting a task, and is, of course, subject to interference. Sod's other law. The degree of failure is in direct proportion to the effort expended and to the need for success. Sod's second law. Sooner or later, the worst possible set of circumstances is bound to occur. Corollary. Any system must be designed to withstand the worst possible set of circumstances. Soper's law. Any bureaucracy reorganized to enhance efficiency is immediately indistinguishable from its predecessor. Sauter's law. Repetition does not establish validity. Spare parts. Principle. The accessibility during recovery of small parts which fall from the workbench varies directly with the size of the part and inversely with its importance to the completion of the work underway. Sparks' fifth rule. For managers, always keep the office door closed. This puts visitors on the defensive and also makes it look as if you are always in an important conference. Sparks' first rule for managers. Strive to look tremendously important. Sparks' fourth rule. For managers, don't engage in arguments, but if cornered, ask an irrelevant question and lean back with a satisfied grin while your opponent tries to figure out what's going on. Then quickly change the subject. Sparks' second rule. For managers, attempt to be seen with important people. Sparks' third rule. For managers, speak with authority. However, expound only on the obvious and proven facts. Spect's meta law. Under any conditions, anywhere, whatever you are doing, there is some ordinance under which you can be booked. Special law. The workbench is always untidier than last time. Spencer's laws of accountancy. 1. Trial balances don't. 2. Working capital doesn't. 3. Liquidity tends to run out. 4. Return on investments won't. Spencer's laws of data. 1. Anyone can make a decision given enough facts. 2. A good manager can make a decision without enough facts. 3. A perfect manager can operate in perfect ignorance. Sprinkle's law. Things always fall at right angles. Stamp's statistical probability. The government is extremely fond of amassing great quantities of statistics. These are raised to the nth degree. The cube roots are extracted, and the results are arranged into elaborate and impressive displays. What must be kept ever in mind, however, is that in every case, the figures are first put down by a village watchman, and he puts down anything he damn well pleases. Steele's plagiarism of somebody's philosophy. Everybody should believe in something. I believe I'll have another drink. Steinbach's guideline for systems programming. Never test for an error condition you don't know how to handle. Steinbeck's law. When you need towns, they are very far apart. Steiner's maxim. The fact that you do not know the answer does not mean that someone else does. Stenderup's law. The sooner you fall behind, the more time you will have to catch up. Stevens's soliloquy. Finality is death. Perfection is finality. Nothing is perfect. There are lumps in it. Stewart's law of retroaction. It is easier to get forgiveness than permission. Stitzer's vacation principle. When packing for a vacation, take half as much clothing and twice as much money. Stock market axiom. The public is always wrong. Stockbroker's declaration. The market will rally from this or lower levels. Stockmeyer's theorem. If it looks easy, it's tough. If it looks tough, it's damn well impossible. Stock's observation. You no sooner get your head above water than someone pulls your flippers off. Stock standard corollary to Parkinson's law. If you wait until the last minute, it only takes a minute to do. Strano's law. When all else fails, try the boss's suggestion. Sturgeon's law. 90% of everything is crud. Sucre's note. If you need n items of anything, you will have n-1 in stock. Suhor's law. A little ambiguity never hurt anyone. Suslick's Kucher. Ties are what administrators use to cut off the flow of blood to their brains. Suslick's first law of infant gravity. You can't fall off the floor. Suslak's first law of maps. All countries are the same size, one map page. Many Europeans do not realize the sense of scale of the US. For example, a visiting French postdoc a few years ago was bitterly disappointed to discover that he couldn't just drive from Illinois over to Colorado to go skiing for the weekend. Suslak's law of information. Transport. Knowledge comes by the truckload, but wisdom arrives one mouthful at a time. Suslak's law of threes. It always takes 3 times to do anything right. The first time you either overshoot or undershoot. The second time you either overcompensate or undercompensate. It's not until the 3rd time that you have a chance to get it right. Suslak's laws of management. 1. There is no such thing as a pet shark. 2. If you bring in a shark to get rid of a shark, all you get is a bigger, meaner shark. Suslak's metaphorical ego. Ego is a house cat. It's nice to stroke, but watch out for the claws. It needs feeding often, and heaven help you if it gets out the front door. Suslak's observations on educational strata. High school education is learning that which most people know. Undergraduate education is learning that which most people don't know. Graduate education is learning that which no one knows. Suslak's scheme of priorities. If it isn't worth doing, it isn't worth doing right. Suslak's scoff. Cynicism is the first refuge of the romantic. Suslak's second law of infant gravity. It takes an infant 6 months to learn this. Sutton's second law. The most useless computer tasks are the most fun to do. Sutton's law. Go where the money is. Sweeney's law. The length of a progress report is inversely proportional to the amount of progress. Swipple's rule of order. He who shouts loudest has the floor.